Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From the 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning Weather Center. Cloudy, windy, and milder. High of 44 today. Partly cloudy and 32 overnight, 23 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the IRS Radio Hour with Stephen Leahy. Every Sunday afternoon at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. We were talking before Mike Scott's newscast about adulting classes on college campuses. Before we get to Steve Moore, Dirk and Stager, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Love the show, and Dan, I was the guy who voted for you.
Oh, great.
Oh,
yeah.
He just hung up. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, you still there?
Did we lose Dirk?
Dirk?
Oh. Well, I hate to lose people
He
who
said I
voted for me.
voted for you.
That was my one vote from Stager.
And
All
hopefully
right.
he'll call back.
Sorry about that, Dirk. I don't know what happened. We had a bit of a glitch on our side somehow. All right, well, we'll skip ahead now to talk about the dreary subject of economics, although there's some happy news, relatively speaking. All you had to do was move along this impeachment proceeding, get the president under articles of impeachment, and then the House Democrats are ready to deal on trade. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, author of the book Trumponomics. Steve, USMCA is moving ahead.
Hi, guys. Good morning. Look, this was a big week. The last week has been pretty awesome for Trump. Outstanding impeachment. And first we got that.
Minus the attempt to remove him from office.
Right. Well, actually, the Democrats are the one who looked crazy on the impeachment. But look, we had the 300,000 jobs in on Friday, which is incredible. I mean, that was just a blowout jobs number. It shows that any talk about a recession on the horizon is just ridiculous. And then it was announced Tuesday that Nancy Pelosi is going to finally do the right thing and move USMCA, that's the North America Free Trade Agreement, through the House. It will probably be a vote Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. This is his biggest legislative victory since the tax cut. So I'm on cloud nine right now. I mean, this is a really good period. I mean, I think USMCA will be very good for U.S. and Canada. It'll be excellent for the big winner here is Mexico. Mexico really needs the continuation of the open borders with trade with the United States. Their economy depends on it.
Although isn't one of the challenges, and it'll be a challenge for Mexico too, because they may not be so attractive to U.S. companies anymore, the leveling of wages. I mean, there's a lot of sops to the unions in the agreement, and so if you're going to by treaty jack up wages in Mexico by government fiat the way we do here with things like minimum wage laws, then you make Mexico a less attractive market, don't you?
Yeah, and by the way, that was insisted upon by Pelosi. That was one of the last-minute deals that you were talking about, Dan, that I'm not really very wild about. That's right. You know, my friend Walter Williams, you know Walter Williams, don't you?
George Mason.
Economist. He used to say, look, if minimum wage is such a great thing, why don't we just raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour in Mexico and everybody will be in the middle class? And we used to laugh at that and say, what a stupid idea that is. Now that's U.S. policy.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, okay, so
that's bad for Mexico. But look, let's not lose the forest through the trees. There are some elements of this trade deal that I don't like, that you guys don't like, but on balance, this is a very good thing for, and we want it. Remember, this is Reagan's vision. It was Bill Clinton, the Democrat who originally signed NAFTA into law, and now it's being extended in a bipartisan way by President Trump and the House Democrats.
Yeah, but is this a redo or a rebrand of NAFTA? And what else?
I'll tell you a quick story. I got in a little bit of trouble. I was on C-SPAN about 3 weeks ago, and the C-SPAN announcer, asked me. He said that, "Well, Steve, do you really think that this is this new trade deal is much different from NAFTA. And I said, well, it's not really that much different. I mean, it preserves the whole intent of this, but it modernizes it and improves it in some way. Well, I get off the air, and who do you think I get a call from? 5 minutes, I'm off the air.
Larry Kudlow.
No.
President
Trump.
Yeah, what are the chances that President Trump is watching C-SPAN? but he was. And actually, it wasn't President Trump. It was Robert Lighthizer, who's the trade negotiator. He said, hey, I just got a call from the president. He said, you said that this is no better than the old NAFTA. And that's verboten in the White House because, of course, you all know that, as Donald Trump said, NAFTA was the worst trade deal in the history of the United States.
Right.
And this is the greatest trade deal in this. But so I'm going to tread lightly here on your question.
Yeah. In case he's listening. You never know who's listening.
He may be listening. So, look, it is an improvement. It is a modernization. We passed NAFTA back in '93, I believe it was. This is 2019. So after 20-some years, it needed to be modernized. And so this is a good thing. And I also think that this strengthens the president's hands as he moves forward with negotiations with China, which is, a big deal. By the way, I bet you guys don't know this, but do you think we do more trade with China or more trade with Canada and Mexico?
More trade with Canada and Mexico.
You are exactly right. I knew you'd know the answer to that.
No, he's never
most people
wrong,
don't know that.
really.
I was even surprised to learn that, but you're right. And so, our relationship with Canada and Mexico in terms of trade and the economy is in many ways more important than it is with China. Of course, China is growing, rapidly every year, but nonetheless, this is a very positive thing for the president. He'll do a victory lap here. Pelosi is, saying, well, she won the negotiations and so on. She did get some, concessions from Trump, but isn't it interesting? At the same time, the Democrats are saying, this is the worst president ever. We have to throw him from office and evict him, and then they're making deals with him. I mean, that's an interesting dynamic that's going on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, right. Well, that means now House Democrats are also colluding with the Russians because they're colluding with Trump on trade.
Oh, that's right.
So here, so here's the thing. You mentioned China, and Larry Kudlow saying December 15th is a big date.
It is.
So why is that a big date, and what is or is not going to happen?
Well, because there's another tranche of tariffs that are supposed to be levied on December 15th if the Chinese don't, negotiate and seal this deal. And I don't think that, I don't think that Trump is going to do it on December 15th, not 10 days before Christmas. I don't want to pay more for my son's cell phone, but this is coming to a head. I don't think it's going to come to a head on this. I think there will be a delay in those tariffs, but Trump is losing his patience with the Chinese. I mean, they are not negotiating in good faith. It's really a frustrating situation. Their economy's been hammered by these tariffs, and yet we're dealing with the Politburo there in China. These are not good people, and the communists are back in control there. So it's been a very frustrating. This has been 3 years now of trying to get some kind of deal with China, and as I said, it's turned out to be like pulling wisdom teeth, getting them to change their behavior.
And so, are you reflecting a reduced sense of optimism in the White House about getting a deal?
Well, it's funny. I mean, literally, it depends, Dan, on what day you ask me.
Okay.
It's like follow the bouncing ball. I mean, one day I'm feeling like things are going well, and the next day not so much. I do think that this could. I hope I'm wrong, but this could blow up again. I mean, it really could. These are not the Chinese. You can't take them for their word, and we've learned this over and over again. That the idea of right of contract or your word is your bond and things like that. They have no meaning in China. I mean, it's really, especially when you're talking about the government there. So Trump is getting increasingly frustrated by this, but he also understands that he needs this trade deal, and it's not even a trade deal what we're talking about right now. It's more of a trade truce, because the changes in this latest round of negotiations are pretty small in the grand theme of things. So we'll see. I do think there's a little bit too much euphoria on Wall Street right now that this is going to happen. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it does happen, but I'll believe it when it's all signed, sealed, and delivered. But their economy is really getting hammered. What's happening now, is that the tariffs are actually moving factories out of China and investment capital out of China. It's moving to Vietnam. It's moving to India. It's moving to Singapore. By the way, if you want to know, here's my one investment tip that I will give you guys today.
Okay. Let me get my
You
pen
want to
out.
know what country? You got it? Okay. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
If you want to know the country to invest in Asia, what country do you think I'm going to say?
Malaysia.
Singapore.
Singapore.
He's
I think
right
Singapore's
again.
gonna be-
Show off.
Yeah. It's like sitting next to the guy who's always raising his hand first, right, Amy? I don't know how
Yeah,
to
no, pick me. Okay.
But Singapore, because Singapore is becoming, well, they're already an extraordinarily rich country, but they are going to, all that investment capital is moving out of Hong Kong right now. You're right, Dan, and of course you're always right. It is moving into Singapore, and Singapore is a country that's going to benefit the most if this relationship with China continues to deteriorate.
Well, right, and so that's why I'm long on canes for Singapore because I know they like to cane unruly Americans, and since there are going to be more Americans
they
doing
don't have
business in
signs on the
Singapore,
street.
They cane us?
They don't have the.
You remember that?
They even cane homeless people there.
Yeah, remember
What?
what was the guy's name? Michael Fay. He committed an act of vandalism. He got a caning. Yeah,
Really?
they're on a tight ship over there.
They don't mess around.
They
Hey,
do.
Stephen Moore,
Yeah.
isn't it sad that we have the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years and a half a century, and all of this unimpeachment talk overshadowed all of that?
Thank you. I think I couldn't put it better. But you know what? I mean, this is why Trump is. I've said this on your show. I'll say it again. They could put the guy in jail, and they could impeach him, and he'd still win re-election. If wouldn't that be interesting? By the way, if they impeach him, can he still run for re-election?
If they remove him, you
If
mean?
they remove them.
Yeah.
If they remove him, yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
wonder
could.
about that.
Yeah, he could.
So that's not going to happen, of course. I mean, the problem for the Democrats, I mean, if you follow the polls on this, first of all, the American people are just sick of the story. They're tired of this. And the Democrats, it's, like what I think should happen, and this is really important, how this drama plays out. If the Democrats move forward with impeachment, and by the way, I know I'm a minority opinion here, but I'm not so sure they're going to do this. It is so long. It is so contrary to their own political interests. You're putting 30 House Democrats in a really, really tough vote. These are districts that were won by Donald Trump, where Trump is popular. That's a really bad vote for some of those House Democrats. But if they do go forward, then the question is, what does Mitch McConnell do? And what I want him to do is, if you're a lawyer and the prosecution makes its case and they have not made their case, you don't do a defense. You move the judge for dismissal.
To acquit, yeah.
Immediately.
Well, McConnell said he'll move to acquit Trump after the Senate hearing has run its course. But the question is, does President Trump want any witnesses to be called?
Well, that's my point, Amy, is that if I were McConnell, I would say literally 15 minutes after they vote for impeachment, if they do, I would have McConnell immediately call for a vote in the Senate. It would be voted down. Now, whether he could get 50 votes from that or not, because that would be a little bit of a tough vote for the people like, who's the lady in Maine?
Susan Collins.
Susan Collins, people like that. But then we don't have to go through 2 months of this drama. Although there is, the Republicans do kind of want to bring Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in front of them.
And Adam Schiff. And the whistleblower. Yeah.
It's going to go on forever.
Hey, Steve, I noted that you and Mr. Laffer put out your latest Rich States, Poor States report. And
and Illinois was number one. Best state in the country.
Right, yeah. Best state in the country for exodus, government-induced stagnation, and general malaise. Yes, right.
I think Illinois was 47 this year out of 50 states. So you're not as bad as Connecticut and New Jersey and California.
I noticed something that was consistent across the top four, the richest states, the states that have the most rosy outlook, and the bottom four, which included Illinois, that have the least rosy outlook.
Yeah.
The 4 states at the top were right-to-work states. The 4 states at the bottom were closed-shop states.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and right to work is incredibly important. I say this almost every time on your show, but the only thing that keeps Illinois afloat, in my opinion, the only pro-growth policy you have in Illinois, vis-a-vis other states, is you have a flat rate income tax.
That's going away.
I don't know. Do you think it is?
Yes.
I don't. I'll bet you. Okay,
Well, he's
Amy?
been right so far today, so
Yeah.
I'm going with
And
whatever Dan
most
No,
of
but
my life.
I have more faith in the Illini people, the citizens of Illinois. I think it is going to go
I don't know
down
which
because
state you've been watching for the last 20 years, my friend. I don't know where that faith
I
comes
think
from.
The people of Illinois will say, no, we are not going the way of Venezuela. We're not going the way of Korea,
Okay.
California. And,
Well,
I
Well,
will
our
do-
teachers union representatives already went down to Venezuela for a fact-finding mission over the summer. If that is any indication.
And
Are you making that up, or
Governor
is that true?
and Governor there were senior people in the Chicago Teachers Union were in Venezuela praising the school system this summer. Not kidding.
And they're probably flying on the dime of the
Yeah,
teachers, right?
Maduro was happy to have them.
Well,
fellow
all
travelers.
inclusive for them.
Also,
They want to see how you do it right. Yeah.
Also, Governor Jellybelly just put $5 million into a political fund to put his propaganda on the airwaves to support graduating our state's income tax. So let me tell you something. Without any opposition here, and we have no Republican Party, that's going to pass. So then what do you say about Illinois when we have a graduated state income tax?
Okay, Dan, how much do you want to bet?
I'm
I'm
not a rich man like you, but I'll bet you. I'll tell you next time we'll do a steak dinner at the location of the winner's choosing. How about that?
You got it. Okay, Amy, are you writing this down?
Yeah, we'll remember. And Amy
I'm
will.
coming with
She'll
you.
be there.
Whether you win or he wins, I'm there.
Right. She'll be there to
I have
park our
faith
cars.
in the people of Illinois. All is not
Richard.
lost, and it is going to be the turning point for Illinois. We will point to that day.
Well,
in
wait a
November
second.
of
Wait. What?
2020.
Wait,
So
what are we,
even
what the exact bet
this
here?
is so funny. This is like the sort of the unbounded, hopelessly positive, without basis and foundation, Republican perspective here. The mindless cheerleading. So let's say that it does go down. We're one of the worst states in the nation right now. So if rejecting the graduated state income tax occurs, then we're in the same position then that we are today.
Dan,
So then what?
You don't understand the master plan. Then, so step one is we vote down that tax increase. Number two, we elect Amy as the next governor of the state of Illinois.
I think that is more likely than that graduated state income tax not passing, actually.
Amy, will you throw
Can
your
I win a
hat in the ring?
statewide office?
Yes, go for it.
I was homecoming queen of Hersey, so anything's possible. Yeah,
It's true.
I got the votes then.
It's true.
I can get the votes
She
now.
does have a winning
I love
track
it.
record
All
in
right, we're gonna
elections.
We're going to start a draft Amy.
All right.
Draft Amy. I want to see the bumper stickers.
All right, I'm going to work on my short list of steak joints I want to go to in November of 2020. Steve Moore, noted economist, Wall Street Journal columnist, author of the book Trumponomics. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Okay, guys, have a great week. Take care.
See you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
As a retired RN, I know the importance of nutrition. I always have. Good food. It's actually healing you from the cellular level out. I'm living proof of that because for the past decade, I've been dealing with very painful brown spots on my forehead, and the brown spots, they're gone.